This episode of The Sportsman's Empire is brought to you by Interstate Batteries. Since 1952, Interstate Batteries has been evoking compassion and a trustworthy spirit into the surrounding communities. Interstate Batteries is a mission-driven company fueled by purpose and guided by their values. If you need help locating a specific battery, stop into your local Interstate Batteries retail store and speak with a battery specialist. They even offer cell phone repairs. Interstate Batteries. Outrageously dependable. All right, everybody. This is the Man Therapy Podcast. My name's Dan. His name's Kyle, and we've been coming to you for I haven't honestly checked how many episodes we've done lately, but we've done over 20, I would say, close to 30 episodes. Probably. So I do have one quick question for you. One of my favorite moments in a day, in an entire day. You wake up, go pour yourself a cup of coffee. And for me, it's something very simple, but I'm starting to appreciate the simple things. It's the first sip of coffee of the day. And it just it centers you for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that too, actually. Yeah. It's the first barrage to your senses after you wake up.
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of hunting, so I don't know how many overnight trips you do, or I don't know how much camping you do or have done in your life, but one of my favorite things about camping is how bare bones it is and how it really makes you appreciate what you have. And if I go on a week-long camping trip to the Boundary Waters, you might get 2 inches of coffee in your cup because you're sharing, somebody was nice enough to make coffee for the group, and you're not, it's not like a whole pot of coffee, so everybody can just drink as much as they want. It's hey, here's how much coffee we have today divided by the group. You get an inch or two of coffee in your cup, and dude, for some reason that is the best coffee that you've had all year.
Yeah.
And because you're so grateful to have it. It's because you're sitting on a rock and your ass hurts. It's because it's cold and chilly and a little bit damp because you woke up first thing in the morning, and it's that cup of coffee is so much more satisfying than as much coffee as you could possibly want to drink at home.
Oh, dude.
I've always appreciated that about camping.
So in the hunting world, 2 things. When I'm in Iowa or I'm hunting, let's say whitetail deer, I don't drink a lot of coffee in the morning because when I go in, coffee makes me poop. Just being real, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And so when I am, going to a tree stand where I have to climb up into a tree stand, I don't drink coffee in the morning. I wait and drink my coffee in the, afternoon before my afternoon hunts. So I usually wait. But when I go out west and I'm hiking up to, I'm not sure really who's listening to this. I post this on the Sportsman's Empire, so I'm guessing people who are listening to this are familiar with hunting in some way, shape, or form. But for those of you who don't, when I go out west, I have to walk a long ways, 1 mile, 2 miles into a glassing point. That's a high point where you can glass all over. And I'll use something called a jet boil. And I'll pack in my water, I'll pack in my instant coffee, and I will jet boil water, and then I will add my instant coffee, and I will sit on a high point while I'm glassing using binoculars or a spotting scope for mule deer or elk or something like that. And if it's cold, you can see the steam, the sunrise. It's just the environment plays just as much of a role in how good that coffee tastes as the actual coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. To me, I think there's such a strong case for getting the hell out of the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to share a real legit, I'm pulling up a map, and that way a long time ago. Okay. A long time ago, Sarah, my wife, and we had to go to a wedding north of Seattle. And this is just a story that I want to tell about, but it's about coffee. Yeah. So bear with me. And so north of Seattle, Washington, there's an island in the Puget Sound where this wedding was at called Whibley Island. Okay. And so we had to use a ferry to get there. And then there was a day where we wanted to travel before the wedding. And so we ended up going to, taking another ferry over to a different part where we went and kind of explored the, Olympus Mountains, Mount Olympus, and over in that area. A beautiful, gorgeous area. Well, something happened where we did not plan properly. So we had to leave our car at this town called Port Townsend. And then we had to take the ferry back so we didn't miss the wedding activities that night, because there you have to schedule the cars, to go across. And we were new to how ferries work and we didn't schedule it. So that next morning we had to, some guy took me to the ferry crossing. I had to take the ferry there, and then I had to wait a couple hours to get the car basically and the rental car, and then come back across in the ferry. While I was there in this town called Port Townsend, I went to a coffee shop there, and to this day, it has stuck out in my mind as the best cup of black coffee that I have ever had in my entire life. Yeah. So maybe that was a real boring story.
No,
good story, dumbass.
Cool. Had a good cup of coffee then?
Yeah. So I had a good cup. I don't know, but it's just one of those things where I don't know, like you think about shit like that. It's like, it sticks out as the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. Right there I
bet that triggers a bunch of boring coffee stories for every, triggered one in me. My best cup of coffee ever was in Chicago. I went into a random Starbucks and they were like, "Oh, do you want to try a cup of coffee off our new machine, new Clover machine? It's a reverse French press." And I was like, whatever. I don't know anything about coffee. I'm not picky. Let's do that. And so they did, and I took the first sip. I was like, oh my God, why is this so good? It was the smoothest coffee I've ever had in my life. I was like, how much are those machines? They're like, oh, $14,000. I was like, oh, shit.
I'll pass.
Yeah, I'll pass, but
hey, did that that cup of coffee changed my day, dude? And it actually, in some way, changed my life. Good.
But then it's a little tricky, because when you have something really good, it can kind of ruin what you usually have.
Right.
Because after that, I was like, oh, my coffee tastes like dog shit.
Exactly.
Dang it. I want this all the time. It's kind of like, so we're in the Midwest, we're in Iowa, and I've been snowboarding for 25 years, but I learned how to snowboard in Iowa at, the big hill that we have in Iowa. Yeah. And I went there for years before I went out to Colorado to snowboard. And dude, after I went to Colorado and I came back to my local skiing hill, I was like, oh, I don't even want to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Going somewhere awesome like that, like, ruined it.
Yeah, the bunny hills in Colorado are different than the black diamonds in Iowa.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. It's for me, it's the same with hunting, right? Once you go out and hunt elk or mule deer in these different, beautiful environments, and then you come back and they're like, hunt whitetails in Iowa, cornfields, and it's just it's different. But it's just like, God, I wish I could do that every year. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I try to. So
have you ever talked to a guy from out there that's come and hunted here? And are they like, this sucks, this is boring? Or are they like, ooh, this is different terrain, I like this?
I think it's different for them. Because, Iowa has really good deer, right? We have really big bucks and things like that. But when you go out west, you sit and wait and you use your binoculars. But when it's time to go, you're on your feet, you're moving, you're shaking, in Iowa or in the Midwest, yes, you're going to find some guys who are on their feet, spotting and stalking and moving around. But for the most part, people sit in blinds and they wait for the animals to come to them. Out west, a lot of the times you're walking to the animals. Yeah. So, they go down to take their little nap throughout the day. Then you go to them and try to shoot them while they're sleeping, essentially, certain times, or they're chasing females and you're trying to move into where they're at. You don't sit in a tree stand and wait all day. So, yeah.
Sounds
completely
fun.
Different. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Completely different. All right. I got a text from you this morning right after my shower, and I kind of looked at it and I was like, you made some suggestions of what you would like to talk about today, and you nailed it. You nailed, like, I think this topic is going to be awesome today.
Yeah.
And so this is where John Stockton, the podcast to you.
Carl Malone.
And you're Carl Malone, and you're going to dunk it or shoot it or do whatever Carl Malone does. You know?
Powerful layup.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just thinking, like, why does your bed feel so comfortable in the morning? Yeah. Why is it so hard to, no, I'm just kidding. Okay. That is true. That's actually what I was thinking of first thing when I woke up this morning. It's like, God dang it. Why is it so comfortable?
You're not a morning person. You're not a morning person, are you?
Not at all, dude. I'm a night owl through and through.
Yeah.
My wife and I are exact opposites. That she's like, she wants to go to bed so bad. She's like, oh, it just feels so good to lay down. I'm like, whatever. I actually put off bedtime as long as I can. But in the morning, bed feels so good and I don't want to get up.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, so that's just a joke. So I was thinking about this last night, and this idea's been on my mind for quite a while now. The text that I sent you, I basically asked these questions. I said, how do you know if you should, okay, so I said, I want to talk about how you make big decisions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know if you should double down or change directions? How do you regroup if you want to make your current path better? How do you implement important things that don't come easily to you?
Yeah.
And I think this came up for me because there are parts of my job that I love. My job is freaking awesome in a lot of ways. My clients are awesome. You know, I'm so fortunate. I have a caseload full of people that I legit look forward to meeting with every week. I don't have a single person on my caseload that I dread. Like, oh man, not this guy. Like, I don't have anybody like that. Like, everybody on my caseload I like, and I have good reputation, or not reputation, good relationships with all of them, and like, that's all awesome. And that's basically always been true. You know, there's been like an outlier here and there across my 15-year career that I've been like, oh boy, this person just like kind of irritates me or something. And I have nobody like that right now, and haven't for a while. So my clients are awesome. There are some other aspects of my job that aren't a great fit for me. Mm-hmm. And I think the main one of those is that I sit all day.
Yeah.
I have ADHD. I'm a high energy person, always have been. Yeah. And my job requires me to just sit and focus for 5, 6, 7 hours straight. And I schedule my clients back to back to back because I don't really have time to not do that.
Yeah.
It would stretch my workday out so much longer if I put space between my clients. So, you know, other jobs I've worked at, like if you're at work for 8 hours, you're not necessarily doing 8 hours of work. You're not like super grinding, focused hardcore for 8 hours straight.
Yeah.
I know there are jobs out there that you are, and also I know that there are days that people might be, but also like in the average job, I think there's time where you like chat with a coworker here and there, or get up and take a little walk, or like zone out for a little bit and then come back to your work. Like when you're a counselor, you don't do that. Like I don't zone out and go like scan some articles I want to read when there's a client sitting in front of me. I just have to like hardcore be focused on them. Yeah. So that's one thing that's not a good fit for me, is just the sitting and just hardcore focusing all day, because my mind gets tired. Then the other part of it that's not a great fit for me is just all of the keeping track of all the paperworky stuff and doing all of the documentation and stuff, and that it's easy to get behind on. My brain's already really tired after focusing on my clients all day long, that then I have to like do this documentation. And so then get behind on that sometimes, and that's really stressful. And so three years ago, I came to a decision point, and I was like, I worked for the University of Iowa, and I liked all my coworkers, but I was getting burnt out. And I was like, all right, I'm either going to go into private practice because it's less stressful, or or I'm getting out of the field completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at finding some job that I could be more interactive with people. I could move around a lot more. That's another aspect of my job, actually, that's not a wonderful fit for me, is that even though I like my clients a lot, like they're not my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just shoot the shit with them because like they're paying for that time.
Yeah.
If I think of like a funny story that I want to tell, or if I think of a joke, I just swallow it,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to take their time to do that. So it's actually, counseling is actually, I think, a pretty lonely profession. And I'm a big time people person. So it might seem, paradoxical that being with people all day can actually feel kind of lonely, but it can, because like it's not necessarily a two-way interaction. We can't just talk about whatever we happen to talk about. Like you might talk with a coworker while you're working, and then time will pass by. Like I don't do that. I'm focused on what they've got going on, and any other thoughts that come up in me, I just suppress them. And so all of these things together lead to those questions that I posed to you yesterday. Like, man, how do you make big decisions? How do you decide if you need to make a big change in your life? How do you know if you should double down and like figure out a way to make this great or make this better, or should you change directions? And then if you decide to stay with what you're doing, then how do you regroup and make your current path better?
Yeah.
Within that, then how do you implement important things that don't come easily? So, with those lines of thinking, I was thinking my job's incredible because first of all, my clients are awesome. I legit I'm going to see 4 people today. The Friday's a light day for me. I'm going to see 4 people back to back to back. That's 4 hours straight of me focusing on other people's stuff, which is fine. And I like all 4 people that I see. They're great. But I will be sitting perfectly still for 4 hours. My job is cool because I can get off work to take my kids to practice, baseball practice, softball practice. I can be at all the school conferences. I can go to all their performances. I can go to all their games. I can do all of those things because nobody can tell me when I can and can't get off work.
Yeah.
If I were to go work for someone else, that wouldn't be the case. That would be like, you get off at 5 or you get off at 5:30, you get home by 5:30 or 6. My son's practice for multiple sports starts at 5. Like I would miss all of that. That would put the load on my wife to be the one to run my kids everywhere. Like right now we're able to divide and conquer. We could ask grandparents to step in and help. Like I want to be there.
Yeah.
So there's some things about my job that keep me in it because I do whatever I want to.
Yeah.
But I'm also noticing that kind of burnout creep up, that I have to stick with it because I'm the primary earner in the family, and there's a lot of pressure there. And if I had a job where I could take vacation time and it wouldn't affect my income, then I would probably do that. But the way that my job is and the way that your job is, if you're not working, you're not making money.
Right.
So it's really hard to take time off. So, all right. So you just let me go on on a spiel for a while. I'll press pause. I've got more thoughts and I've got more questions to ask, but what came up in you as I was sharing that about myself?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack, right? I mean, right there. And so I think what we should do is, I'm just pulling up, let's see. How do you know if you should double down or change directions, or excuse me, how do I make big decisions? That'll be the first question. How do I make big decisions? Now, big decisions are financial, their relationships, their time, right? Like all these things, and one could potentially impact the other, right? And so I'll just go to, a lot of it is personal too, right? And if that decision is going to impact my family, I'm a father and I'm married, and I have to at some point contribute financially to the family. Same with my wife, and we have to talk about things. We have to go. Man, it's so hard to kind of, I think we'll just kind of word vomit this out and then maybe pick up the pieces. But how do I make big decisions? Number one, in today's world for me, it's got to make financial sense.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the money to do it, then like where I'm at today, right now, finance, decisions are made first and foremost. The decision is, will this impact the family? Can the family afford it? How much money is it going to cost now? How much money is it going to cost later? All of that stuff. Right. And so there is, because that's right now where I'm at in my life, we have set bills. We have, I got a mortgage. I got 2 car payments. I have, kids that are in sports, and that shit costs a ton of money. Gas is up. Groceries are up, all that stuff. And so for me, it all comes down to finance. Asterisks.
Yeah.
And the reason I say asterisks is because I'm not in the position that I'm in right now if I didn't take a risk in 2018 when I got laid off. All right. In 2018, I got pulled into a room with 30 other people, and then our sister company in Philadelphia also pulled in 30 some people, and they said, today is your last day in the job. And I'm lucky. A lot of people had oh shit moments where you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I have kids. I have family, time to go out and find a new job.
Yeah.
I was building the network the podcast network at that time. And I was already on kind of a ledge where, am I going to jump, or am I going to stay here and keep kind of working 2 jobs? And so I didn't necessarily have to make that decision. That decision was made for me, and I became self-employed at that point. Here's where the risk comes in. I was scared because I knew that if this didn't work, I'm going back to a job or some type of thing that I hated. I hated being in a factory line. I've worked some tough jobs, dude, some sucky ass jobs. And I wanted to do something for my boss. I hated people telling me what to do. Maybe I'm a little bit egotistical where I felt like,
yeah, you are,
dude, like, I can do it better than you, like type of mentality. Right. But I feel like that is what drove me when, like, there was a point in 2018, later in the year, where I had $7 some in my checking account, and my wife goes, can you transfer some money in so I can pay this bill? And I did not have it. And I kind of played it off for a while. And I finally got a check for $10,000. Okay. And that check helped me get a financial foundation for the family again. Okay. This is a very long way of saying that risk of not going in and finding a job, that risk of having my mom, my dad, my wife, my in-laws not have faith in me because, it's like, oh, you're looking for a job, right? No, I'm going to try this thing. Right. And if I fail, then I'll go back to the job, but things might be hard for a little bit, or we might not be used to the income that we had. Right. Or things like that.
Yeah, right.
And maybe I didn't do a good job of explaining that and what my goals were to the people around me. Anyway, again, a very long way of saying finances are my decision, but also my happiness. Okay. It's what I'm getting at. And I wanted to try something. Because there comes a point, especially in a man's life at my age, I don't know about you, I can't speak for you, but you're just like, who am I? Like, what am I contributing to this world? Like, what kind of example am I setting for my children? Right. And I don't want my kids to feel like they have to go work in a cubicle or, do a job that is the status quo for their life, or go to a factory or do a thing.
Yeah.
I also want to teach them that life is short and you need to follow your dreams, because the alternative is what we see so often in life. And that is, I started working when I was 20. I worked the same damn job or did the same thing, and whether it was the same job or whatever, till I was 65, 70 years old. And then I started getting health problems and at 70, and then retirement just wasn't what I thought it was going to be or whatever like that. Like, that is my biggest fear, is falling into a trap like that, or falling into that. And I do that and I work so hard right now because, just like you, if I want to coach a sport, if I want to go eat lunch with my kids at school, I'm in charge of my time. I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, as much as I want. Also knowing that all decisions and all my money that comes in is based off of me and nobody else.
Right.
So yeah, it really comes down to finance, but also, do you ever feel like self-employed is tricky though? Because being self-employed means, there's days where I don't want to get out of bed, and there's days it's not that I don't want to. Let's say, like, after this, I know that I have to edit this podcast. I have to launch it. I also have some other work I need to do. And I know that means that I'm not going to be able to go pick my kids up at school today. Maybe it's because I didn't work late last night or the night before or whatever. So, I will say this, that a main priority in my life right now is to enjoy life and and I don't want to say, how do I put this? I don't want to say pass the buck to and just like not make the decision and not and avoid certain things. But right now, every decision that I make is for my happiness and the happiness of my family, and trying to spend as much time with my kids while they are young as I possibly can. Because I just had this, me and my daughter were talking yesterday. She's only got 5 more years in this house, dude. And then she's gone.
Yeah.
She's not the girl who's going to live with mom and dad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so she's gone. 5 more years with my daughter, and she's gone. That's going to break my heart, dude.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So I am making time right now. I'm working enough. Could I work more? Yes. But I'm making my decisions right now to spend as much time with my kids. And in 10 years, when my youngest is out of the house, then I can get back to grinding if I want to, or whatever the case is. So.
Right. Yeah. That's
a very long, indirect answer.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Those are your thoughts on that. And I appreciate that. I'm similarly aligned. When I think about different career paths, different jobs I could take, different things like that, it comes to front of mind every time of oh, but then I wouldn't get to spend this time with my kids, and then I wouldn't get to spend this time with my kids. And I think I have to admit to myself that really is, I think I have to give myself permission to prioritize that value.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a stigma that lots of people have, or it's a stigma that men have, that you need to be working, and
I think it's men.
So what for you? You should go to work and you should do all the things. And I do work and I make pretty good money, and I work hard when I'm working and all of that. So I'm not just chilling all the time. But man, every day I feel like my kids are getting older. When I look at my kids who are 9 and 8 right now, they look so old to me. They are so big. They're growing so fast, and it's wonderful, and it's exciting. But it also it's a little bit heartbreaking, because to your point, every day is a little bit closer to them leaving the house, and then whatever this isn't the exact statistic, but something like you've spent 80% of the time you're going to spend with your kids by the time they turn 18, and then after that, like the rest, let's say that you're lucky enough to know your kids for another 40 years after that, or something. You're not going to spend much time with them. Not nearly as much. So like, these are the precious years. So anytime I think like, I could do that job. Ooh, that career would be cool. I think like, not worth it to not be there for all those things and not get to spend that time. So I think that helps make my, like, that helps clarify my feeling a little bit. I appreciated hearing you say that, because it's not all or nothing. It's not like we're lounging around in sweats all day, just hanging out and chilling with our kids and not working, not making any money. It's like, we're working, and we're working pretty hard. It's just we also want to enjoy that time with our families, and I think that we're fortunate enough that we get to do that. I don't think I want to take a job that would pull me away from that. I don't think it would be worth it. I don't think any amount of money would be worth that, because I wouldn't be able to buy my kids' childhood back.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. And when we talk about hard work, right, our parents probably have a different definition of what hard was. Like jackhammering concrete and picking it up by hand and putting it in a wheelbarrow. That's hard work. Right. That's physically exhausting work. Now, what my parents didn't see and what my wife didn't see was me working to get to where I'm at today, me working a full-time job, going in 5 days a week to a job, sitting in a cubicle that I hated, and having this idea in my head of what I wanted to do to start my own company. And then coming home, being a parent until the kids were in bed, and then building my business from 10 to 1 in the morning to 10 to 2 in the morning. From when everybody else was in bed, I sat down in a chair and I was grinding. Right. Take grinding however you want to take it, but that's what I was doing. And I did that for 3 years before that time came. And then I was able, because of that hard work, and 3 years out of a life doesn't sound like much. And so to everybody out there who has ever thought, like, I don't know if I can do it, you can fucking do it. Right. You can start your own gig. You can start your own company. All you have to do, the hard part, is be willing to sacrifice sleep and time when everybody else is sleeping to build what it is that you're trying to build. Right. And some people, like, digitally, like, cause I use a computer, I can do that. So, but I always think, Kyle, like, this is going to sound morbid, but we're up against death. That's what's coming for us. Right. And so one thing that I've kind of, like, I know people who have nice houses. They drive nice cars. They go on extreme vacations. But what are they sacrificing right now? They do not hang out with their children. They are working 50, 70 hours a week, right, to make that money to live that life. And I just look at it like this, man. And that's great. Money, if that's your ultimate motivator, good for you. But that's not for me, because I've seen personally what it does to people, and I don't want to be that. Right. I'm okay with working hard and putting my kids on the back burner for a little bit, but I'm not going to do it their entire life. I'm the kid who I want to be the coach. I want, when I am laying on my deathbed, I want my kids, this sounds weird, to have a hard time with my passing, because I want that to be the legacy. I want my kids to tell stories like I tell stories about my grandparents. Like, dude, my grandparents were, or my dad, they were amazing people. Like, I want my kids to tell their grandkids and their dude, my dad was awesome. He loved us so much, and he was a good person, and he taught us to be this way and to work hard and to, follow your dreams and shit like that. And that motivated me to do all these other great things. That's my goal in life. And it's not to stack up a giant bank account, because I'm going to die. And what does all those assets and what does everything do? Yes, I could help my kids out financially for the rest of their life, but also I want a life with my kids while they're kids.
Right. I also
Essentially.
wonder the question of like, how much would your kids pay to have more time with you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you could save up a lot of money and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
assets and resources to leave them, and that's cool. Like that's good. Like we should be doing some version of that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But also, I just think like, so my dad, I think, is a pretty good example of someone who worked a ton, worked too much to
My
the
dad too.
point I didn't even get to have him. Like my
Yeah.
parents are still together.
Mm-hmm.
They've been married a really long time, you know, for more than 45 years. And my dad worked. He was a mechanical engineer. Worked at the nuclear power plant, and he worked long hours. When he came home, we lived on a farm, and he had a hobby of like restoring antique cars and doing all sorts of other like side businesses and stuff. And like, dude, I never got my dad. My dad
Mm-hmm.
never played with me. I never played catch with my dad. My dad never went to any of my sporting events. My dad was always stressed out by all the work that he had going on. Um, I I would have traded any amount of financial resources or comfortability to be able to like have my dad. I
Yeah.
didn't get him because
Yeah.
he was grinding. You know, he would be the man's man. He would be the glorified version of like, don't be a pussy and you should always be working and da 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 da. And that's all cool, but the effect of it was I didn't have him.
Yeah.
Never played with him ever, dude.
Yeah.
I played more with my son in one weekend than my dad played with me my entire life. You
Yeah.
know, and I
Yeah.
love that I get to do that, and so I don't want to sacrifice that. And I think that makes kind of decision making about careers easier.
Mm-hmm.
That just having this conversation helps solidify for me um, how awesome the situation is that I have right now because it allows me to prioritize
Yeah.
that time with my family.
Yeah. I think the other thing is, there's this balance, right? Whenever there's a big decision that needs to be made, how will it impact the family? How will it impact us financially? Whatever the case is, right? There's got to be a balance because you also, as a man, should not be 100% selfish or a parent, right?
Yeah.
Or a husband or a wife to be 100% selfish decisions about you. Like,
Right. Totally.
I want this. You're no longer like, and this is where I also see other fathers, who I know where they're like, yeah, I'm going on a golf trip trust me, I go on hunting trips, right? I get to play a side card and say it's part of my business, but I see a lot of, dads still like not focusing on their family.
Mm-hmm.
Like and again, that may work for them. I look at that and I go, and some of it has to do with this, where maybe my wife will bring up, say, a comment like, oh, must be nice to have a big house like that or to have that trip or whatever. And I go, yeah, but what did it ultimately cost them? He works all this time, then he goes on a golf trip, right? So he's choosing, like, that person has chosen to work. And then when it came time to have some free time, he spent it going on a week-long golf trip. And then he came back and he went work again. Right. Yeah. That's not me.
Right.
That's not what I want. My priority is my family, my wife, yeah, and my kids. And so I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else there is that is like, that would make a decision for me.
Well,
obviously,
let me ask you a few more questions.
Yeah.
Are there any parts of your job that are especially hard for you to do because they just aren't part of your nature. Um, any really important, so for example, I do want you to answer this. I'm not going to focus this on me right now, but
Mm-hmm.
um my job is very good for me because I love talking to people, and that's like
Yep.
right in line with my nature. If I meet with 8 people back to back for 8 hours, like, cool, because I actually like to talk to people for that amount of time. But the problem is then the boring paperworky stuff that, like, my brain just like wants to do. It's like I'm crawling out of my skin when I have to do that sort of work, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard to make myself do it. Do
Yeah.
you have anything like that that's just like not, it just goes against your nature, it goes against the
Yeah.
grain of who you are, and so talk to me a little bit about that, what it is, why it goes against your nature, and then what you do about that.
Yeah, man, it's the repetitiveness of every episode. So for example, after this, the fun part, which is us talking to each other,
Mhm.
I have to go in and I have to create thumbnails. I have to create text. I have to create imagery. I have to upload and edit this on the platform that we're using here. And then I have to launch it to multiple locations
Yep.
and then do some social media stuff. All of that shit, I wish I could hire someone to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But here's the thing. I've learned to accept it, not get uncomfortable with it, accept it, because what's the alternative? I always weigh what I'm doing against what I could be doing. And that would be sitting in a cubicle or on a factory line, just hating my job. Right. But I know that it's Friday. And usually I just like you, I schedule a lot of my work light on Friday so I can go enjoy an afternoon or do some, enjoy the afternoon, maybe get some
Mm-hmm.
stuff down around the house before the kids get home. That way I can focus on the kids when they get home. The alternative to that is going and working a regular job somewhere.
Yeah.
And that. And so I use that. I weigh that to myself. It's almost like a mind game that I play with myself. It's like, yeah, this is boring as shit, but what's the alternative, dude? You're going to be done working by noon, 1 o'clock today, and everybody else is going to be still punching their clock, probably not doing anything, but having to be there just to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if I wanted to, I could work more hours to make more money. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. And sounds like yours and mine. If I want to make more money, I'm going to come up with creative ideas to work more hours, to make more content, to expand my company, and to generate additional revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I wanted to, I could do it. There's a lag in that, so it's not instant, right? So like if I do a whole bunch of work now, it may not be for a couple months or 6 months that I start to really feel that. But there's what's the alternative? That's what I'm always weighing my decisions on now.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. In kind of prepping for this episode and just researching for my own education to confront my own stuff in life, I read an article in Psychology Today, which is a magazine that I get every month that has a different focus for every issue, and just by happenstance the focus of this month's, or the most recent magazine, was like how to begin again.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically how to start over, how to transform your life, or how to start over if you feel like you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And there were I don't know, 4 to 6 like main points that they made, and then I was reading through those, and the first one was basically ask yourself, like, who are you now? And within that, then you identify what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be really honest with yourself. What's important to you? What do you care about?
Yeah.
Who are you now? Because who you were when you started the job 3, 5, 10, 15 years ago, that might have been a great fit for that person. But is it a good fit for this person that you are now? And you have to be honest about that. And it might be, it might still be. So I think asking myself that question, like, who am I now? What do I need out of a job, out of a career now? And reflecting on like what's going well versus what's rubbing me the wrong way. What are my goals? What do I want to get out of my life? And then identifying my values and then making decisions based on those values. All of that to me makes me want to it makes me want to double down on what I'm doing, but find a way to make it more workable. Like I think I could find someone I have so many contacts in the field. I bet I could find somebody that I could sit with and work on our boring work together. So that's a big thing for me is the loneliness of feeling.
Do you think, let me ask you a question. Do you think you would perform better in an environment where you would go to an office and have coworkers and things like that?
If I would, if I actually got to interact with them.
Yeah.
It's like I've excelled at every job I've ever had because I'm a hard worker. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know I'm smart enough. I've done well everywhere I've ever been. This career that I've chosen is funny because it plays to a lot of my strengths and it also plays to some of my key weaknesses. And it's funny because I could do anything if I had a coworker that I could be hanging out with while I did it.
Yeah.
It's what's rough. One of the roughest things about this for me is the solitude of doing it by myself. That's rough because I'm a big time extrovert. I'm a big time people person. And it's really hard for me to spend a bunch of time by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. And that's where I feel like when I'm spending a lot of time by myself, that's where I excel. Because I feel when I was in the quote unquote workforce, I just got distracted by people and didn't perform. Now, based off the fact that I'm forced to have to do it and the fact that there's no distractions around me other than my wife at the house. Yeah. I have an office above my garage and I'm up here working, for the most part, take away the knee surgery, but yeah, dude, it's, I want to go back to everybody's like, I want this better life, whether that's to make more money or to have more freedom. Whenever you make that decision, you also have, I think a lot of people, I want a better life and they throw themselves into it or they make a really rash decision and it's going to affect something. So I think a lot of people need to understand that with any decision also comes a period of uncomfortableness and that you're going to have to find a way through that period of being uncomfortable in order to get to the ultimate goal of what your path is, or hey, I want to have this life. Okay. Well, how hard are you willing to work to get to that? Once you get to that, for me, that 3 years set me up to where I have this foundation of my business and I can make money off of it. Right. And now I can work more or less depending on what I'm trying to accomplish in a given week. Yeah. And so, and then of course I have contracts that I have to, I have to do it. I have to do these things. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where you got to realize that life is not easy, right? And there's going to be a period of time where whatever decision you make, it could be easy. You just have to jump. Maybe the uncomfortableness is the actual decision, or maybe the uncomfortableness is all of the work that leads up to the vision, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that can be that can be a relationship thing too, right? Stepping away from someone who is a burden on you, or, people who go through divorce or things like that, where those are some real uncomfortable situations that could lead to something bad. There's always a risk there, right? You can't tell the future. Or it could be, oh man, I got this person out of my life and now I'm feeling really good about myself and my life is better because of that.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just keep going back to the text that you sent me.
Yeah.
How do you know if you should double down? Like for my business, double down or change directions, right? I feel like people in today's world, I see it in my kids real easy. Instead of doubling down on something and getting through something, they quit. And then they go do something else. When things get hard, people quit. And there's always those little memes, right? Of a guy with a pick and he's digging through the dirt. And then right there, he decides to give up on his dream. And he would have struck it rich with that next swing of the axe or the pick.
Yeah, right.
And so I think when you make any big decision, you also have to ask yourself a lot of questions. Did I give this enough effort? Did I really, truly try hard to accomplish this goal? Or no, I have a goal. Did I try hard to meet that goal? Because I'm not meeting that goal right now. And I think a lot of people are just like, oh, this is harder than I thought. I'm going to give up, when just around the corner is something beautiful that frees their life up, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I know that discipline is immensely important. It's funny because I struggle with discipline with things that I really, really, really don't want to do, which is obviously the time that you need to have it the most. If it's something I'm interested in doing, man, I'll work so hard I'll forget to eat. I'll work so hard it doesn't even feel like work to me.
Yeah.
I'll get lost in it, and I love that. And then if there's something as menial as writing a therapy progress note, like all of a sudden my brain's like a little 7-year-old that's like, yeah. And I'm just like observing myself like, dude, you're 43. Like, what are you doing? And it's weird to be observing myself, and I don't respect myself when I notice that I feel like that, and I'm like, get it together, dude. Why this isn't that bad. It's making me, I think a thing that I need to do is get out of my own head and look for support in other ways. I've taken a step towards that. There's a colleague that, actually I think a lot of my colleagues have done this before me. It's a thing I'm about to start integrating AI into my work. You can basically have, only if it's okay with the client, and some clients will be cool with this and some won't, and I'll respect that, but it'll help me for all the clients that are okay with it. You can basically have AI, you can record your session, and then you can run it through an AI program and have it do all your documentation for you.
Yeah.
And it takes the thinking out of it. It takes I'm not just lazy, I'm perfectionistic. And that's a big part of why these little things are really hard for me, because something that a less perfectionistic person could do in 5 minutes, it takes me 25 minutes. Cause I'm like, I want to say it just right. Or like, I want this to come across perfectly. Or if somebody else ever looks at this, I want them to be impressed by it. And it's like, that's way too much. It doesn't need to be that. And so that's a place that AI can be helpful, to record my sessions, have AI do all that note writing for me. And then I basically just review it and say, yep, that's pretty accurate, or make a few edits. And it would take a lot of the perfectionistic barriers out of it for me. And again, there'll be some clients that are cool with that and some clients that aren't. And obviously I'll behave accordingly. But I think that's a thing that I think that needs to be my goal for, next week, is to really start implementing AI into my work as much as possible.
Okay. That would be a time saver. Okay. What time do you have to be done by today? It's 9:30 right now.
I have a client at 10.
Okay. All right. So one more thing that I kind of want to touch on is, how do you regroup after you want to make your current path better? Okay. And I want to give a negative example here because we've talked a little bit about, like, for example, I grinded and my business took off and I made money. I was approached by another company. That company said, "Hey, we offer this thing." And I won't go into the details, but we offer this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man, that could generate additional revenue for me." Okay. And so I get, I have meetings, I do my due diligence, I do my research on what they're offering, and I make the decision. It was a decision that took me 3 months to make. I make the decision to transfer part of my business over to this new company. And ultimately, it is going to cost me $12,000 in the next 12 months of lost revenue. Okay. And when I ask them, like, it was a risk, right? I said, "Hey, ask them all the questions. Yeah, we don't see a problem with this. You should, at least make the same amount of money. Worst case scenario, making the same amount of money."
Yeah.
And, the details, there was some small details that maybe I didn't ask or see, or they didn't tell me in how this all works and how everything was generated. It's going to cost me $12,000. Now, for someone who's self-employed, $12,000 is a lot of money for me. Okay. That's roughly, that's 12% of my annual income, roughly. Okay. So take that how you want to take it. That sucks. So now I have to work harder, find ways to work harder so that I can soften that blow. And usually what happens in the world that I live in is I can do all these things, but it takes roughly a year to generate income off of those things. Right. And so there's been a decision made that was hard for me that is now resulting in a negative outcome, meaning I have to now make more decisions on what I'm going to do to generate additional revenue at this point.
Yeah.
So it just, I have, like, the only thing I know how to do now is put my head down and work. Right. And keep doing what I'm doing. And hopefully that the rest of what I'm doing kind of takes control or takes grip. And then I can somehow make more money. But now this is going to cause additional conversations in the house.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I want to go do this. Well, unfortunately, I am making $12,000 less this year. I'm going to forecast $12,000 less this year. And, my monthly income is going down. My monthly, not just my monthly average income, but my guaranteed monthly income is going down, which is going to put a strain on us financially.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know how I'm going to handle it yet.
What's the takeaway lesson? Because it's not just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean it was a bad decision.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can do all our due diligence and we can recognize that a thing might be a risk, and then it just does go the wrong way. And it's not necessarily bad as long as you feel like you made your decisions in alignment with your values. Because when a thing goes bad, if you've made your decision in alignment with your values, then when a thing goes bad, you can go, yeah, I'm not happy that it went bad, but I understand why I tried that. I understand why I did that. It made sense why I did that. I'm okay with that outcome. It's not ideal, but I accept those consequences.
Yeah.
That's very different from someone that goes, "Oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I'm so stupid." If you do something that goes against your value, that's where regret comes in.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely that you won't regret your decision if you made your decision in accordance with your values. Sometimes you just eat a loss. You go, "Yep, that sucks. That didn't play out. That didn't pan out how I wanted." But it actually makes a lot of sense why I tried to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to do it to get more money. essentially that's what these people told me I was gonna, you should be able to generate additional income from this platform that we offer. I said, after 3 months of thinking about it, I said, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Thinking that it was going to be, they said it was going to be a seamless transition.
Yeah.
It was not, it's not a seamless transition. As a matter of fact, it is it's not really what they're telling me it was at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here like kicking myself for that. Also a little upset with them for not really like following through with what they were going to say, but maybe in 12 months of being on this platform, I will create additional income. But right now I'm not at all. So it's a little frustrating.
Oh, well, absolutely. It's frustrating. A thing that's coming through my mind right now, though, Dan, is that maybe this is more of an expensive lesson than a mistake.
It could be.
Maybe this is the price that you're paying for this lesson. Might have made a ton of sense why you made the decision that you did, and this is just an expensive lesson. I think I actually think there's a difference between an expensive lesson and a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to numbers though, I look at that. It's like, dude, this was a mistake. I'm losing 12 grand. But like, what's that going to teach me? That I need to like drop what I'm doing and go back to what I was doing before, which will also have the same impact because I will then be lagging more in going back to the same platform. So I really haven't had time to really dig into it and think about it more. I've kind of realized what's happened. I've accepted what's happened, and now I'm just trying to, like, I don't know, like forget about it a little bit. Because
radical acceptance of like, yep, that happened. Now this is the data of the situation. Now I just have to work like this.
Yep, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know what's going
Dan,
on.
I'll tell you what, man, being an entrepreneur means that you have to accept some level of risk.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
100%.
You had to do that to go dive in head first with your podcasting platform.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be able to do that. And I think every once in a while you're going to lay a turd, and that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I feel like there's part of me that also feels like I got comfortable where I was at. And now I'm back in an uncomfortable situation, which goes back to what I just said. Anytime you make a decision, right or wrong, you're going to have to go through a moment of uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
So,
this could be a stepping stone to your next thing. Maybe you're like, I see what I was trying to do there. This company actually kind of sucks. Let me do it like this. Or, what I wanted to do there was good. Let me find a different way to do it, or let me refine my process. This could be an important friction point in your life that made you reassess and made you do things even better.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see. Maybe this is, when I'm on the Forbes 500 list in a couple years.
Yeah, I hope so, bud.
I'll tell them about this conversation.
Yeah. I don't, dude, I really honestly don't think that it's fair for us to think that, that good decisions are only the ones that panned out how we wanted them to. Yeah. I do think that life is about taking calculated risks. If you could predict the future and you could just pick every single thing that was going to go well, you shouldn't be doing this. You should just always be playing the stock market, or you should just always be playing the lottery if you're able to just magically predict what's going to pan out.
Right.
But if you can't do that, then you say, well, I did my due diligence. I pondered this for 3 months. I asked all the questions. They gave me all the answers based on all that information. I thought it sounded good, and so I tried it. Didn't pan out that way. Now I know better.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Anything else we need to talk about today before we shut her down? I mean, do you feel like we answered all the questions in this this text message?
I think that we addressed them. I think it gives me more fodder for my own thoughts. I think that there's some steps that I could take to improve my own situation. My last question was, how do you implement important things that don't come easily? I think like continuing to do what doesn't work isn't a great plan forward. And
Right.
so, I think about I think I need to incorporate AI. I think it would be a great idea for me to connect with someone else, one of my colleagues, and meet with them to like do paperwork. If we could schedule like an hour a week that we just like set aside, that we just get together and body double, so to speak. Body
Yeah.
doubling is where two people are like working together. They're not even really talking or hanging out, but like, just if we're doing it, let's say if we were to meet on Zoom once a week and say, hey Dan, let's meet and we're just going to work hard for an
Yeah.
hour, and we're just sitting here on camera, and every time I look up I see Dan working hard, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's what we're doing. So I work hard, and every time you look up you see me like working hard.
Jacking off.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Every time you look you see me jack off, like, oh, I'll totally be doing that. Kyle, that's not what we're doing.
Wait a second. This isn't the work I was talking about.
I misread your text. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, but dude, I this was great. This was a good conversation. I kind of needed some of this. And so I really appreciate you coming up with these ideas today. And, I think if maybe we need to, maybe between now and next week, if there's some elaboration that needs to happen on our thoughts, or maybe if you've done any actual implementation to getting to that point where you're actually finding a colleague to work with. Yeah, dude, but
okay, I'll keep you updated.
Anything else we need to do before we shut her down today?
No, I appreciate you. There's a lot of things I appreciate about you. One thing specifically from today is that I like that you are willing to share things about yourself and your life that are not flattering.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people want to put their best foot forward and only show the clean, pretty parts. And I think one neat thing about this podcast is that anybody that listens to it would get to hear a guy that has a successful podcast and a successful platform go, oh shit, I made this mistake and this sucks and this is going to make me have to da 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 da. And that's more real. Cause a big problem that we have, and we don't have to dive into this, but, and everybody knows, and everybody's had this conversation of that people compare the nitty gritty of their life to everybody else's social highlight reel, because the people that are putting their social highlight reel out there aren't willing to put the real shit.
Yep.
That you would post all of your wins and none of your losses is bullshit. That you could say, hey, I make a ton of money and it's fucking awesome and I have all this time and da da da. And you're not sharing the fact that you made this miscalculation and it's made life more stressful. Like that most people would hide that. But anybody that listens to this podcast gets to hear, oh wow, people that are generally doing good and working hard, they fuck up too, and they have shit they have to contend with. So I respect you for that. Thanks for sharing the parts that aren't pretty and polished.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, that's life in a nutshell, right? How do we get better? We learn from our failures.
That's right.
Kyle, really appreciate your time. For those of you who like the Man Therapy podcast, do us a huge favor and go to iTunes or Spotify, wherever you download or listen. Give us a 5-star review. Let us know that we bring a little bit of humor and a little bit of professionalism to these conversations that we have. And then also, this is going to drop on YouTube. So if you want to look at our gorgeous faces, you can go to YouTube, to the Man Therapy channel, and watch it there. So good luck, everybody, over this holiday weekend. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.